good musician, but we perish because of a lack of knowledge. Y'all listen to this. The truth of the matter is the day is fading for entertainment. Like the truth has to be front and center because that's what we have been called to do. Right? So now, I'm on this gospel tip. So now, and this is probably my first time actually, honestly, having an opportunity to preach to all preachers and teachers and pastors and stuff, that kind of thing. I was teaching in Bible study one day when, the Apostle Paul, before he became Paul, he was Saul. And this guy, after reading his story, he's really not a stone cold killer. He's just not downright evil per se. The reason why I said that is because Paul makes the words of Christ true. Mm-hmm. Jesus says to his disciples, he says, there's coming a day when men are going to kill you and think they're doing God's service. So that's why I says in Paul's mind, he didn't see no wrong.
That's right, that's right.
Because he was only standing up for what he thought was right.
That's right.
So when he was doing these things, he was doing them, and he thought he was doing God a favor.
That's right.
Matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why God did not destroy Saul. Mm-hmm. Because he says, Paul, the reason why I want to keep you is because you have a passion that's unheard of. Your passion is just misguided. Yes. He says, so if I can watch this, notice, we think when you're wrong, you're supposed to be dealt with. But notice what happened on the last road. Paul was on his way to the church. But to destroy the church, he had a letter to dismiss the church. So on his way to the church, he met the master of the church. The master of the church knocked him off his feet. He couldn't see what he could hear. He didn't know the voice, but the voice knew. He said, Saul, Jesus said, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? Notice what he said. He says, who art thou, Lord? He's watched this. Notice God didn't come to Saul because Saul had no problem with God. I see that. Saul only had a problem with God's son. So that's why he was trying to kill the church, because it was God's son that instituted the church. He says, who art thou, Lord? Who are you? He says, I'm Jesus, the one you got a problem with. Are y'all listening to me? He says, don't you know it's hard to kick against the he really ain't saying that. He just talking about Victoria and telling stories. But well, the Jesus you preached about, that's what he did. The same Jesus preached, he knew to tell a bunch of stories. See, you thought the prodigal son happened for real. No, that was a story. Are y'all listening to me? You thought the woman lost the woman for real. No, that was a story. You thought a man lost one sheep and left the 99. No, that was a story.
That's right.
That's good preaching.
So now we're talking about how Jesus preached. He was simple kind of guy. When he wanted you to understand something, he just tells a story.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right? So now, you got to get the right stuff in. So now, let me get back to Paul. When Paul was converted on Damascus Road, God sent him to the church and then put his sight in the hand of preaching. He says, Ananias, there's a guy by the name of Saul. He's blind. I'm going to give you his sight. Watch this. If he wanted, he got to come to a place and then not like it. Are you listening to me?
Yes, sir.
But notice Ananias says, I've heard about that guy. I don't really know him, but I heard about him. He's still, Jesus, that dude is crazy. They say he killed Christians. God told Ananias, don't worry about him. He's a changed man.
Yes, yes.
Everything that he was preaching, Jesus said, don't worry about it. He's going to preach it again. I'm filling him up with the right stuff. Yes. You know what happened? He went to Ananias, got his sight back. Watch this. When Saul began to preach, he was full of religion. He was full of tradition. But he said in Philippians, Pastor Burnley, he says in chapter 3, he says, I think around verse 7, he says, but what things would gain upon him? He says, I count them. You've been reading your Bible. He says, I count them as a loss. For Christ. He says, but what that he says, but what things would gain to me? He says, I count them as a loss.
Yes, sir.
For Christ.
Yes, yes.
So watch this. He says, before I knew Christ, I only knew tradition and religion. He says, but when I was introduced to Christ,
Go ahead and preach out.
he says, I decided to turn my back on everything else I thought I could do. Watch this. He says, so that I may know him. Somebody ought to talk to him. He says, I want to know not just what my grandmama taught me, not just what my former pastor taught me. He says, I really want to know him. But not only do I want to know him, I want to know the power that's behind his resurrection. So Paul said, I know Jesus didn't get up by himself. He says he had a power that caused him to snap back in the face of his enemies. Are y'all listening? He says, not only do I want to know good, not only do I want to know him, I want to know the power. So he says, count that stuff a loss that I may know him. Are y'all listening to me? So now in order to know him, I had to empty myself. But what I thought was right, what I felt like was right. Are y'all listening to me? So now I know him, so now he was called preacher. Who was going to teach him or fill him with the right stuff? That's what the Bible says. The Bible says that Paul took a break for 3 years.
That's what it said.
He didn't do no revivals. Didn't do no conferences. He wasn't preaching for nobody on Sunday mornings. He wasn't teaching Bible study on Wednesday nights. He went to Arabia for 3 years. And him and God communed. Jesus filled this guy with the gospel of God. Watch this. When he came up from Arabia, he came up with the right stuff in him.
All right. That's good preaching.
But, Paul, how do we know that you got the right stuff in you? Well, the Bible says when he came up from Arabia with all of this good stuff and new stuff, the Bible says Paul had enough sense to go talk to some other preachers who had walked with God. Paul says, I just met him. Are y'all listening to me? Paul says, I didn't like him, but now I'm working for him. He didn't feel me right with the right stuff, so now I need to make sure if what I got in me is the right stuff. The Bible says he came up and he went to Jerusalem. Are you listening to me? And he sat with Peter and the other brothers. See, Peter ain't talking about what he heard.
All right.
Peter ain't talking about what he heard somebody say. Peter is talking from the platform of experience.
All right.
Peter says, I'm one of the apostles. I walked with him. I talked with him.
That's good preaching.
I saw him. Matter of fact, he taught me. That's why I'm able to teach you. Watch this. Before Paul ever, watch this. Matter of fact, he started preaching before he confronted the other preachers. The Bible says when he found the other preachers at Jerusalem, the scripture says he called the pillars of the community.
That's right.
Who are the pillars of the community? Those are preachers and pastors. So he called preachers and pastors together, set them down and see. That's why I like what's going on in Fayetteville. See, we would have all of these denominational issues if preachers had sense enough to come together and sit down says, I just come to give you my testimony of these scriptures. He says, I was in Arabia for 3 years and I talked to Jesus and I just met him and I really haven't shook his hand personally. But I understand that y'all guys, y'all walk with him. So anybody should know the truth. Should be y'all. He says, no, I need y'all to tell me, lest I have one ring or shall one anyway. So he says, I've already been preaching over young. I've already been telling them what I'm about to tell you. Are y'all listening to me? He says, well, I came to y'all so I can sit down to make sure if what I'm saying is right. Are y'all listening to me? He said, I need somebody to validate what I've been saying. Because he says, I don't know everything. I just met this man, but I spent 3 years with him, and this is what he told me. He says, help me out, lest I run or have ran in vain. So what he was saying was, if I'm wrong, he says, correct me. So when I run and preach, I'm not running in vain. Are y'all listening to me? He says, when I run to preach, I want the right stuff in me. So when I get there, I may be tired, but it's worth the run. So he began to tell them what Jesus put in it. Watch this. Notice when he talked to Peter and them, nobody said anything.